Okay, I was even embarrassed to tell people, but I was saying I'm really going to be looking this year when I'm at the fest because it's time, Lord. I need a man. So we were at Walmart and, we were freshening up and getting ready to go to sleep in the parking lot, in the van, together. And I had prayed before I left on this trip that, I knew that we might stay in the van together on tour, and I didn't want there to be any, weird proximity issues of us liking each other just because we were so close and the opportunity was there. And so I prayed that I did not want that to happen because, I was going to find my man at Cornerstone Festival.
So we get out to the van and we get in our sleeping bags and I'm all tied up in mine. It's true, you tied me up.
I didn't know, don't you know? We get in our sleeping bags.
And before too long we started playing footsies through our sleeping bags. And then our hands started kind of creeping closer to each other.
And just a little bit closer and a little bit closer.
But we didn't quite touch.
Almost touched.
But I was like, okay, I'm just going to say it. Can I hold your hand? Because I think it would be fun.
I think it would be fun too.
And so we started trying to hold hands. But as any of you know that have stayed in a van for a night, it's really hard to hold hands in a van when you're laying next to somebody. And so we had to laugh because because we didn't know how to hold hands.
Yeah, it was a little awkward.
That was awkward.
So we were holding hands for a little while, and I started to think, where is this going? So I turned to him and I say, so, this changes things.
Yeah, I like you.
What? For how long?
Well, a couple years.
Really?
Yeah, I've written songs about you.
Which ones?
Ambulance.
What? He had that song for so long, like at least a year or two.
And she could never understand what it meant, because I could never tell her.
There were a lot of songs like that. Everything became so much clearer now.
So we drove on. Now we were dating. We called everybody.
No. We waited till we knew we actually were really dating.
The first day was really awkward, and I got frustrated because we didn't tell anybody. And I hadn't had a girlfriend in 10 years. And
I hadn't ever kissed anyone in 10 years. And then I found out he hadn't kissed anyone in 10 years either. That was pretty impressive. I never thought I would get someone like that. So now that we were dating and we were a couple, I was thinking about something. We were headed to Cornerstone Festival, and the last thing I wanted to do is have to deal with my first kiss in 10 years, surrounded by 20,000 of my closest friends. So I told him that we needed to have our first kiss before we got to Cornerstone.
And I told her, well, if the timing's right, I didn't want to rush this sort of thing.
He blushed. That's what he did.
So 3 days later, we had our first kiss in my van.
And we laughed our heads off and thought, well, we'll get better at that.
It was really bad. The next day, we went to McDonald's.
And we were being all gooey and ooey and
And I was like, oh.
Across the booth table, over our big breakfasts.
I love you so much more than I did 4 days ago. I said it!
And I thought, said what? Oh, it probably means love. Oh, whoa!
I do love you.
Wow! I love you too!
And it was true. I did love her. The next 2 weeks, I went on to see everywhere she'd ever lived and met every member of her family.
he got to see Nashville and Chicago and my mom's house in Pennsylvania, and then he left to finish his tour. So I went back to San Francisco and I thought, what am I doing here if Nate's in Portland? Strange things started happening to me once we were in a relationship. I got kind of emotional. And I started crying a lot more than I was used to crying. And every time, Nate would be wonderful. He would hold me, or he would talk to me over the phone and pray with me, and he would be comforting, and he'd say the right things, and he would be so loving. And he never rejected me. Over and over and over again. Every time I expected, oh, this time I'm just being so annoying. I'm being such a nuisance. I can't believe he's not saying I've had enough. But no, he just kept loving me. It was amazing. Now I'm gonna cry.
Are you laughing or crying?
Both.
Hey, I can't tell. Here. So good things started happening when we got together. Tessa started crying, as she put it, and I thought it was beautiful. She was blossoming into somebody that I'd never even known before. She wasn't the same person that I started dating. And a month later, she moved to Portland. And I got caught in the transition between single guy living alone in his van, planning on touring the rest of his life, and meets man in a very serious relationship that couldn't tour anymore. And I decided that Tessa was worth not traveling anymore if it meant being with her, because she was amazing. Mm-hmm. So Tessa had been in Portland less than 2 months and thought it was time to ask a big question. So on October 21st, we got engaged. And it's been amazing. You're here at our wedding 4 months later. And we're so happy.